And welcome to another ETTO spoilercast, this time on The Boys Season 3. I'm Will.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Sam.
We're back together. Finchy isn't here. He has seen it, but he didn't. He's busy. He's been a working boy, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We should do.
We don't work.
We don't work.
Ever.
We don't work.
No.
We just wait until something comes out and then we'll talk about it. That's all we do. That's all we do here. And we're going to do that today because this season, I think... I'm going to get my thoughts out of the way, spoiler-free, before I ask for your thoughts. I think maybe one of the best seasons of superhero television ever?
Yeah.
Like, at least the most consistently good seasons of superhero television ever. I just think this season of The Boys had an incredible characterization for everyone. The acting, it's always been good, but just felt like everyone stepped it up. And there was more action and more visual effects stuff than I think the show's ever done. So I'm in the ball camp. Ball camp? I don't think that's what that is. the court? I'm in the camp.
Park?
Or I'm in
park is what you're looking for.
The park. The park. Music. Of this being one of the best things. Ben, where do you sit?
I'll do you one better. Just maybe one of the better seasons of television out there.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
I was downplaying it, but I'll go with you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm in your camp.
Yeah, I compare this season to the better seasons of Game of Thrones. Like the season 1 of Westworld, up there with some of those really good ones we've had in the last 10 years. I think this is the show hitting its peak. I'm a bit worried from here where it goes potentially, but I think that this is definitely the best thing we've seen out of this show, which is pretty remarkable because last season was pretty good. So, I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm impressed.
Sam?
It was shit. No. Look, I mean, I feel like I had to just say that to be the odd one out for a second. But like what the both of you have said, it was incredibly solid and just well made in general. Will and I got the fortunate opportunity of seeing one episode on a cinema screen, which was great. And I think it was great seeing it in that sort of environment because we're not even people that work on the show, but it's you saw all these things they're trying to hit. You saw them hit in the correct way and the way they wanted to an actual audience. And not even being part of the show, we're they're doing good. It just everything was working really well. The comedy hits great. I feel every character this season just had so much depth about them and had so much going on. They weren't just there as a puppet with powers. It was no, there's real shit under there. And I my favorite thing about this show has always been the fact that it's superheroes in the real world. They've all got a PR team, an assistant, blah blah blah. Whenever it cuts the Vought stuff, I always love seeing them having to deal with issues and then pull hair out because they can't handle it. And it's just it's just I don't know. I feel this season really honed in on just everyone's favorite aspects of what the show's been so far.
Totally. It's always been seen as a satirical take on superheroes and stuff. And obviously it still is that, but it really felt like this season went, you know what? We're better than that. We can just be a superhero show.
Yeah.
And just show you how to make... Because the thing I said to you, Sam, near the end of it is Marvel and less DC. DC does pretty well in terms of characterization. The films kind of feel like superhero action figures. I feel like I'm watching... fake things that are being played with on screen. Yeah. Whereas this show, everyone feels like a human. Even the superheroes feel like humans because I know why they're doing... I have a full depth of their motives all the time. And I'm impressed. I'm so happy that this season was good because I'm totally the same and worried a little bit for how you top this. But every season of this show was great. And then the next one's even better. Yeah. So I was delightfully surprised. The big thing that I saw online, and we're delving into spoilers now, go watch the show. Watch all of The Boys. You'll love it. Early on was that a lot of people I saw had said that it started weak, or it started a bit lesser. And I don't think I agreed with that. I think I saw where it was coming from, is that, the momentum of the show definitely picked up kind of the middle of it. But the thing I really loved about this season was its pacing. It felt like it gave everything the right amount of time. Like the head popper thing was obviously the driving end of season 2.
Yeah.
And in this, it was like, all right, we'll deal within these first 2 episodes, but then it just dropped it. It's like, we don't have time for that. We're focusing on Soldier Boy and home. Like, it never wasted time on anything that it didn't need to. And I think that for some people, that's annoying that arcs get dropped. But I think for the better that the show focuses on what it needs to on each thing. And jumping to the end, something like Black Noir, you kind of expect that that's going to go on for longer. And it goes, no, we've kind of done everything we need to do here. Dead. How do you guys feel like pacing-wise and the stories and stuff?
It's interesting you mentioned the head popper thing, because even that was maybe like the one concern I had with her character, was that she did kind of get pushed to the wayside, but then they bring her back more and more at the end of the season and start teasing like she's still involved in stuff. And that's the kind of thing which makes me cautiously optimistic for the next season, because it's like, oh no, they still have stuff up their sleeve that are kind of, they're left by the wayside and I forgot about, even if I was maybe a little bit worried about that as well. But like, I think stuff like that is really impressive, how they are constantly able to weave back in storylines that you thought weren't relevant. Like A-Train's storyline kind of hit a brick wall almost, like at the end of last season, start of this season, almost literally. But yeah, even bringing him more to the forefront in certain episodes of the season and like going through the character progression of what it's like to be in this superhero team without being able to use your superpower, but also like not wanting that to like affect your stature or anything, and all the kind of things that come with that and what you have to balance. I'm just very impressed at the way they have like a lot of plots going on in this show. There's constantly about like 5 different plots. And I was listening to another podcast talk about the show, and they were talking about how none of them actually feel like a B or a C or a D plot often. They're just like coinciding A plots. They're all very relevant to like the overall story and everything. And I think that's a big achievement. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like the stuff with the head popper, and I hate that we don't know her name. Well, all the time. But like for me, because like there is that moment where it does kind of fall off and then come back a few episodes later towards the end. But I feel like for me, they kind of transitioned from it so naturally that when she did come back, I was like, oh yeah, there's that. But I wasn't mad about it because of there was so much good that came after her arc kind of fell off. And I think that's what this show has done so well this season. Like what you were saying, Ben, like there's so many things that are happening at once and they don't necessarily take away from something else, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like every issue has like fair ground, which I feel like is pretty well done in a show nowadays anyway. Because a lot of the time that can just get very messy.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like I love the... Like, I'm always surprised by what is important in the episodes as well.
Yeah.
Like, Stan Edgar seemed like a one-note character. As much as it's Giancarlo, like, in the previous season, I was kind of like, oh, he's there to be the face of the top, and that's kind of it. But then in this, it's like... There's the whole his downfall is important to the show because now you put the superheroes in charge, and you know that all flows through to the head popper at the end, kind of going and running for the president or for
vice president. Vice president. The very immediate thought that like obviously comes with that is she has the ability to pop heads, so it's not, she's one step away from being the president essentially.
Totally.
So it's
it's all such a knock-on effect, all the plots, and it's super cool. The acting, of course, Homelander is just on a new level in this season. Like, I feel... Because I was thinking about... I did a video on kind of everything that's come out this year, and I was thinking about Stranger Things, and I really love all the casting in that and stuff. And I think that it's that in this show that just has such a unique level of acting. And I think, Sam, you're so right with, like, the cinema thing. When we watched it at the movies... This show actually feels closer to cinema than a lot of shows do in terms of the acting level. Like there's the sequence of Homelander talking to himself in the mirror, and it's like that's almost better than Willem Dafoe. That's almost better than his thing in Spider-Man 1.
Absolutely. But like I feel like the guy that plays Homelander, Anthony Starr, I feel like he is one of the best like actors to come out of a TV show for me, because it's like obviously I didn't know anything about him before The Boys. So that's what I'm saying, like for him to come out of this show for me, like it's one of the best things, because he's just so good. Like there's moments in film and TV for me where you kind of look at him and you're like, oh well, a person wouldn't really act like that, or like they wouldn't say it this way or whatever. But with him, it's always like, no, that's like spot on, because when you can kind of like understand the mindset of Homelander and what he's going through, what he's been through, it's kind of like, no, everything you're doing is perfect. And
that's the messed up part about the show, is it constantly makes you understand what everyone's motive is.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're like, I never agree. Like, I see where you're coming from.
I can understand. But I just feel like you know, basically in a nutshell, he is probably one of the best actors in a TV show at the moment. And everything he does is just so convincing and so intense. Like just to like when he's there are moments where he's having a bit of a rant, you just see like his face squirm a little bit. And it's like that squirm is either he's gonna fucking kill someone, or he's just gonna walk away and have someone else have to deal with it.
He's realizing he can't deal with it right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, because he's such a broken character as well.
Yeah.
Like, there are those moments where he's got nothing else to say. I mean, it's the fight in the Herogasm thing where it's like, well, I don't know I'm just going to fucking leave. Like, that's all I can do in this moment.
The scene where he goes, he walks away from the political rally and just goes and drinks some milk and stuff. And it's like, sure. Yeah. And it's like so ridiculous and outlandish a scene, and yet makes so much sense for the character because of all the things they developed over like 3 seasons now. I wanted to shout out like Jensen Ackles as well, like definitely a more muted character than Homelander, but he's coming up into a show and kind of having to face up against Homelander as a very, I mean, as in the show is made clear, a carbon copy of what Homelander is just like 60 years ago. And I think he does a very good job at being Homelander, but like, as I said, a more muted Homelander, and like pulling in the elements of his trauma into his character, and you can see it in his like facial acting and his body language and stuff. But also having like basically that crazy side of Homelander, but it's stuck 60 years in the past from like the 1940s. And it's kind of, it's really cool. It's almost like you can see he's taken notes from Anthony Starr's performance, and knowing who the character is, has wanted to like put them into his, but also make it tonally work in the way for what his character is. And I think that in itself is almost more impressive. Like, he doesn't steal the show. Like, and you're right, Anthony Starr is still like the king of this show, but he does such a good job of feeling instantly at home in this show. And by the end of the season, you're like seeing them fight up against each other. It doesn't feel like I care more about one of these characters than I do about the other. Like, they do such a good job of developing Soldier Boy throughout the season, and Jensen does such a good job of like portraying so many facets of that character as well, that by the end of the season, when you get that showdown, it's like, oh no, this is totally like, I don't know which way I want this to go. I mean, I don't actually want it to go either way, but
Well, it's totally, because the beauty of the show is like, we've had 3 seasons to get to these people being human. Like, the first season is very much a dig on everything. It's intentionally pretty thin. Like, the idea of these characters are there, and you can see that they're going to be more than kind of the simple facade. But he's totally having to do a like speed version of 3 seasons of development of his character. Yeah. Because when he first starts, you are like, oh, it's just like a Captain America dumb parody. And then, by the end of it, he is so much more than that. And even that, I think he does, and it's not about comparisons, he does a better job of being a man out of time than Chris Evans does. Chris Evans very quickly is like, I'm well into this. And I know we do a time jump in Avengers, but it's like, this whole season, you're just like, it's the scene where he sees a dad with a papoose on. And he's like, what's this? And it's like, goes on this rant of just terrible things, and the line Huey has of, there's so much to unpack. It's phenomenal. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I love it. And that is like the humor of it's such an interesting show, because you would think Huey would be the heart of the show. But there's no real central heart. Everyone is so important to the, because I did almost say that. I was almost going to say that Huey is that grounding force, but in this season he can't be.
I feel like it's almost like Frenchie and Kamiko is the grounding force of this season, and even they have their own fucked up shit to deal with.
I guess maybe it's apart from his vendetta against Soldier Boy. He's kind of the one very human character in the show. Like we have that backstory of Soldier Boy killing most of his family. It's like he's constantly battling between trying to be good for his family and all that. Like I loved that. I think that might be the one storyline I wish they had hit a bit harder. It's like harder into that and lesser into Frenchie and Kamiko, because they've kind of had the same story for 3 seasons now of she's a monster and he wants to help, and it feels like this season is definitely the best version of that. But it feels like they're in a bit of a loop with those two. I
like where they got at the end though, because it lined up really well with the whole thing about choices of being a superhero and stuff, and it lined up well with kind of whether or not you're able to make the choice of, to take Compound V or not, making the difference as to ethically,
Huey and Kamiko,
ethically what it means and that kind of thing. And I think that's like, I agree. Definitely the start of the season, I was like, oh, they're like still 2 seasons ago where we were. But then by the way they get there at the end, it's fantastic. And even just on I think like even the way they deal with its OCD and just like constantly dropping that he's on Lexapro, which is a very common mental health drug for a lot of people to be on, is like just saying that word and like dropping those kind of things in it like grounds the show in something else than like this outlandish, very gory, stupid superhero show, which at this point it's grown well beyond that moniker. But from when people look on the outside and look into the boys, that's still what people think it is. Like I still see people on Twitter being like, why do people love this so much? It's so like over the top and irreverent, and I'm just like, please just watch a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. You say it every now and then, Sam. You're like, there's a line and they sometimes jump over it. Did you feel like they hit the right balance? It was like the dildo fight.
Yeah.
Episode 4, you're like, okay.
No, because like there's definitely things where I'm just kind of like, it doesn't need to be in there at all. But like it is. And I think even when we saw episode 4 and like the cast was sitting in front of us, and even they're saying like there's things where we're like, is this necessary? And they're just like, it's in there now. Like I feel like, I don't know, I think especially like the hero-gasm aspect of this season, where we got that in, I think was it episode 6, 7?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. Like even though it's so absurd and so over the top and doesn't add anything anywhere, it's just there for fun. It's like, it's still like, it's not wanted, because it still adds more to what their world is like as supers. Totally. You know? Yeah. It's like there is this like underground shit happening that's just like, you know, only a very, very small amount of people know about. For sure. But it's like, this show's definitely got its moments of like, really? But then at the same time, like the actual like, you know, heart behind it all makes up for it, so it's fine, you know? It's
this weird thing where it's like, you're right, that scene is so outlandish and so gross in so many ways. And at the same time, it's like, the concept of this show is like, I guess, obviously, if superheroes actually existed in the fucked up world we have, and it's like, realistically, there would be dildos sold of all the characters. There would be there would be a bunch of superheroes that just care about having sex all the time and all that stuff. Like it's like, it's so outlandish to watch on screen, and then you're like, but it would fucking happen. Like it just would. And like that's the reality of it. And so it's so weird when you're watching these things being like, this is the most realistic depiction of this, as you're watching like a guy with a giant penis. And,
absolutely, because like for me as well, it's like, that's like going back to what I was saying earlier about, you know, one of my favorite things, that it's like, you know, as real as it gets as superheroes being, you know, or having like a PR team and everything. It is that thing where it's like, when you think about a lot of this stuff, it's not too like out there, because it's like, this would be happening. Like when you see all the merchandise and the brand deals, you're like, that would be happening.
Theme park.
And then when you see like, you know, Vought trying to cover up bad shit that their people are doing, it's like, well, that would happen, because I don't want to look bad. And I think even down to Homelander and Soldier Boy, them technically being the same, I also love that they're both men of their time in the sense that with Soldier Boy, it's the men of those times is like, if you have a problem, you have a cigar, you have a beer, and you harden the fuck up and you deal with it. Whereas it's like nowadays, men are very much encouraged to just like let their emotions out and speak, which is what you do get a lot from Homelander this season. Like I loved the scene when he's on stage with Starlight and they're filming for that show and he just breaks and he's like, I'm fucking better than all of you. He's like, you know, like that whole moment. And it's like, I think like, and that's the thing with Homelander as well. It's like, we know that he's so intense and that the acting is so great, but then there's moments like this that just elevate him every season, nearly every episode. But yeah, no, that like, yeah, there's some like my favorite sort of aspects of that whole like, you know, real world shit happens. This is what would actually be happening. So yeah, it's cool.
I was just thinking like, there's probably a million Homelander scenes we could talk about. Just keep going through them all. But I was just thinking about like even just the moment when he's talking to Black Noir in the final episode, and he's like, "Did you know?" And he's like coming to terms with all that, and he's just like so emotional about it and everything. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he's just the worst version of like what men are today, where he's like he lets his emotions out, but in all the wrong ways.
Totally.
Rips friends' hearts. Literally rips friends' hearts out. I just want to say I think my favorite line of the series is from that Hero Gasm episode, which is, and there's very little you can say about Huey because he is the thinnest character, despite kind of being the most human character. Not much happens in this apart from the kind of Temp V stuff, which is the most kind of generic. It leads to a lot of good plots, but there's not much depth.
He's kind of he's the frame for the show, and that's like he has been since the start, and I think. Yeah, it's unfortunate because Jack Quaid, again, also a fantastic actor, does a fantastic job with what he's got, but ultimately you still need to have that character that the show is framed entirely around, and him being the vehicle for Temp V allows that story to keep going in a way that it wouldn't with any other character, even though they're all very important. So, yeah. But anyway.
No, I was just saying, my favorite line is from Here Goes, where I think it's as he's just gotten in there and a guy walks behind him, stands, and he goes, sorry, I just need to let my arsehole have a rest for a while. Like, fucking hell.
Absolutely.
It's just everyone's delivery of jokes, but I think Jack Quaid he always has the punchline to so many great moments. And, for sure. I think another character, I think Huey doesn't get much to do. Butcher is a character I'm very intrigued of the trajectory of where he's going, because this season, again, he's very heavily tied to the Temp V stuff, which doesn't progress too much. It's for other people, really. And we get a deeper look at his backstory, but it's a lot of backstory I feel like we've had already. Yeah. Like, it's nice to see it.
Feels like a reminder.
It feels like it's a reminder, and it feels like I just don't know if he has much more progression as a character. He has that moment of, you know, not letting Huey come on the final mission, but I'm kind of like, I feel like that's always been who he is. It's like, in the final moment, he'll go, actually, you know what, I will be the good guy and push her away. So it didn't feel like much of a change for his character. He almost could have died in
a few times
sequence in the building. A few times. But in that moment with him, like, he could have been the Maeve and he could have died in that moment. It wouldn't have, I don't think, changed much for the show. It's like, he's a fun character, but I don't know, like, I don't know for you guys, I don't know what else he has to give for the boys.
Sorry,
there you go.
Mine's on a slightly different topic, so I'll go to yours first.
Okay. Well, like, because the only thing I can really think of for Butcher, and I don't think it's, like, there's not much more room for him to grow as a character. I feel like we've kind of reached his, like, extent of what he can be. But I feel like he'll more so be there for other characters to grow now. Like, because at the end of this season, we obviously see that Homelander's son Ryan comes into the mix. Very intrigued to see what the fuck happens there, because that's just going to be insane.
Is he the worst? Like, is it the 3 tiers of
well, yeah, like, I feel like wouldn't it be so funny if he's just got like a miniature version of the Homelander suit and it's just those two flying around?
It's all those oi memes.
I fully thought he was going to show up with that in the last scene, like, no joke.
That would have been so funny. But but I feel like, considering that it's Ryan and what him and Butcher have been through in the past series, I feel like Butcher might just hang around more so to be something for Ryan to come back to reality with, whereas because he'll obviously get in that world now of Vought and Homelander, and Homelander's going to obviously try to influence him, but I feel like if anything, maybe the next season the character of Butcher will be someone to have Ryan like see the good in what's happening, and maybe come back.
He's also gonna die.
Yeah, I think
I forgot that they give him a terminal.
Absolutely. Yeah, so like he might even only last for the next series, and then that's it.
For sure, that's such a good point that he might be the pivotal thing for Ryan in the end.
I think he's also just kind of the punching bag for other characters in like a good way. Like at this point, I think he allows similarly in a way that we talk to Huey, but almost different, like a separate kind of thing, is that he allows all the other characters to have their moments sheerly by his existence. He allows Huey to go through everything that he does in this season just by Butcher being his companion. And the same with like all the other rest of the boys' team. They all have their moments like fighting back against what Butcher has put them throughout the season. And I think that's almost what his character is at this point, because he's had
the foil.
he's had those 3 seasons of us learning who that character is and really getting deep into it. And we get a little bit of that in this season before it kind of pushes away from that and focuses more on other characters. It's on the death thing, because this was my point I was going to bring up. I'm so in two minds about what deaths mean to this show, how much deaths stick in this show. Like, I'm still very unsure where they're going with it and what I would actually prefer, because again, Butcher has been given a terminal thing. I'm not sure if that's actually going to stick, because I feel like he's a pretty core thing to the show. And I'm also thinking through the fact that we've never really had many deaths fully stick, like in terms of major characters in this show. And you look at someone like Maeve, who should really die from what happens at the end of this.
I was so surprised when she walked out of that room.
And same with like Black Noir looks very dead, but from what I've heard from people, it seems like they're bringing him back in some way. And it's almost like, in one mind, I'm like, I wish they'd do again what one of the strengths of something like Game of Thrones was at the start of like actually having those deaths mean something and that anyone could die. But at the same time, it's a superb like ongoing parody of the superhero genre that none of these characters die. And like totally. It's just that underlying thing of like, they never actually die. Even we see their guts ripped out, but like somehow they're still alive. And I kind of... So I'm still trying to work out what exactly I want from that, and it almost, I think, it would be really funny if everyone was still alive at the end of the show.
Stormfront somehow back as well. It's unexplained.
I'm curious to see where they take that, I guess, is my main thing, because I think next season is going to be the big tell on where we go with that, and if these characters are actually going to stay dead and that kind of thing.
Like all I was going to say very quickly was like, I think it'd be interesting if like next series with like what's happening to Butcher, like I think it'd be interesting if like he was the first like proper real death, and then it's like from there it's like anything is the like
stakes,
totally. It's like from there everyone, like not just like as an audience but the characters also realize like fuck, there's a lot at stake here. Any of us could die any second. Because I feel like also just seeing so much like death in general in the show has just like sort of what's the word, kind of like
desensitized,
us from like really knowing that that's a stake now. So I think I would love it if they do keep to their guns and have like him only have the 6 months or whatever they said, and then it's like that's maybe even half of next series, maybe the full series or whatever, and then he actually does die. I think it would also be interesting though if he doesn't tell anyone about his terminal illness, and then he like uses himself as like a sacrifice or something, and then it's like
that's what I was sure was going to happen this season, which is almost why I'm surprised they kept him around, because he knows that, and I thought, this is the moment when it's finally actually going to happen, and we can like see a meaningful character death. But the fact that he's still alive at the end and Maeve's still alive, and they're just like he's got 8 months to live, so he's still around, and Maeve is off somewhere, so she's still around. It's like, I feel like
and
you almost
Soldier Boy's on ice.
And I feel like you almost wouldn't include that if like you were going for that kind of story trajectory. But then again, who knows? It's a really interesting thing to wrestle with in what this show is now. Like, what I would actually prefer to happen, because I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like it feels like they still haven't, and I mean, obviously the show's still going. It feels like that tense violin of Homelander is still going, even though he like ripped the heart out of Black Noir. It still feels like he hasn't exploded.
Yeah, he's killed so
weird.
Yeah.
It's like when I watch Stranger Things. And 4 seasons worth, I'm like, Steve Harrington's gonna die. It's like that tense vibe, and it's like the show is doing everything to say like he's fine, dude. Like, don't worry, he hasn't died yet. But it's the same with this. It's like something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
so I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
So
even when he
totally,
literally kills an innocent civilian in front of many people at the end of the show, you're like, nah, it's still not happened.
That was probably one of my like favorite moments, because like I do have a favorite moment, and it's the fight at Herogasm. That's my favorite moment, hands down. But yeah, seeing that scene at the end where Homelander just like, you know, lays this guy's head off, and then it's just like that one white guy that's like,
MM's wife's
The stepfather,
yeah. But I think it's cool because like going into the next season now, it's like Homelander knows that he can just get away with anything, and you see that look on his face. He kind of grins along with Ryan, like, holy shit,
and also
I can do whatever I want now.
Getting like the reveal of Newman being running for vice president as well. It's like the more and more you think about it, the more you're like, yeah, he probably can do anything.
Yeah,
they're kind of working together in a way. And no, totally. I think that was brilliant. I was talking to a friend about this show today, and they reminded me that this happened, because this happened in the first episode, that someone exploded out of a penis. And that happened in this season of TV.
Yeah, that's
and it's
true.
like, the fact that didn't stick in my mind to this point shows how much happens in this show, how much ridiculous stuff happens. Because
I mean, there's your first permanent death, maybe. Step on termite.
Yeah,
landed at Herogasm.
No, I mean, I say there's no
major hero.
Yeah, there's major heroes, because obviously you've had Brian's mum die, whose name I can't remember, and you had, I don't even remember his name. He was around for like half this season.
The one that sings.
Yeah. Supersonic?
Yeah.
Supersonic.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That was the weirdest part about The Boys thing we went to. Because it was the episode where you hear his song for the first time in full. Oh, yeah. And when we left the cinema, they were playing it in the foyer. Cinema, and it was like, oh god, we're in the Boys universe.
Yeah, amazing.
It was like, because it's such a real pop song.
Yeah.
That I was like, Sam, is this the song or is this a different song?
And I remember I turned to you and I was like, no. Nah, I was like, I'm almost 99% sure I heard this on the radio on the way here. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Which is just a testament to like how real this freaking show feels. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've got much. I guess the only other big player that makes big waves in this is Starlight.
Yeah, she was really good.
She's brilliant in the show, and I hope she has a big hero moment soon, because every time it seems like she's going to have one, she just does something fairly minimal. It's like she sucks all the lights out in that room and then just flies for a bit. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
So I hope she gets a good moment in this. But yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Even when I think that character is like two-dimensional, then they do something with her.
Yeah.
I was like really impressed by it. Yeah, and I think like on minor characters as well, like the deep storyline throughout the season is both like really depressing but also very funny, like the whole way through.
That's true. Yes.
And yeah, A-Train's stuff dealing with his family and like
the fact he gets the heart of that guy is one of them, like
that scene is just like so messed up. I don't know. I still don't know how to feel about any of it, and he doesn't.
Totally. No. And I can't remember what her name is. The
Ashley.
Ashley. Like, she is such an interesting character because the performance that she has is so different scene to scene intentionally that it's like, I never know where her motives lie. Like, obviously, Homelander is very much against her now. Like, makes her remove the wig and all that. But she's such a, like, she plays every side so magnificently.
Also, like, the fact that her assistant is named Ashley is just...
Yeah. I think it was in the final episode where she's like, Ashley, you need to leave. I went, wait. No.
I love the fact she's kind of almost taken over Stan Edgar's role, and it's like, that's not a trajectory I ever would have expected for that character, and yet here she is, and she's doing such a good job of it. Yeah, like, she's just so... said a lot of times, like multi-dimensional, and it's really, amazing. The hair pulling payoff is just like, both devastating and also, again, brilliant. Because as soon as you see it, you're like, of course.
Totally. I think someone posted that scene from the finale of it's Deep, A-Train, Ashley, and Homelander after he's just... And I watched that, and it's even in isolation, I'm just like, this is something else. Like, this is the scene that I wish people were seeing. I wish they weren't seeing termite going inside penises. I wish this was the thing that was passed around the internet to be like, this is the show. This is the magic of... Like, no one's showing superhero powers. They're in silly costumes. But they're just fucking acting. To an incredible degree. And just on the stupidity of the show. I also think it's a journey, and I feel sorry for them because every season they have to top the previous thing. And it's like, if you are on the journey season to season, it gets more ridiculous, but you're so sanitized. You're expecting it. So it's like, I'm surprised you're still shocking me. Whereas Isolated, I understand. You're like, why am I seeing this on my timeline?
Totally, yeah.
But
the other thing I just want to shout out briefly is like the way the kind of story thread they've been weaving in of how the immunity that like social media is giving people in this show. Like Starlight would be flat out dead at this point if she didn't like have that power over Homelander. And it's like almost remarkable how in a TV show about people with crazy, insane superpowers, they're showing like how powerful like that pull is and how powerful having that control of like social media, but also other forms of media and stuff is alongside superheroes. It's like such a good parody of and satire and commentary on everything going on in our normal world, but showing that even in a world filled with superheroes, it would still matter that she has like, I think they say like 190 million followers. And it's like, well, yeah, you can't just go and kill someone that has that because instantly that's 190 million people that all of a sudden are on your back. Totally. And even if you're Homelander, like you could probably kill them all, but like, who knows?
You're in trouble.
I think that's a really cool thing that they kind of, it's definitely been seeded in earlier seasons, but it's becoming more and more obvious as time goes on.
The only thing I was going to say was like just to what you're saying, Ben. It's like the moment when she pulls out her phone and she's live on Instagram. It was like, it's one of those things where it's like, that's such a modern age, like smart tool to have used. And it's a thing where there's so many scenarios in film and TV today, just in real life, where you're like, why don't people pull out their phone and just go live or something or film it? It's like they're like, now they're doing the thing and you're like, thank God, because it's like that's what people would be doing nowadays. They just go live. And it's the modern day equivalent of like of wearing like a wire under your clothes. It's like if you just go live, that it will be filmed onto your phone, plus people will be seeing it and hearing it in the moment anyway. And that whole scene of her pulling the phone out and then Homelander being like, fuck, and then quickly being like, hey.
That's all.
And then he learns from it, because in the latest, I can't remember if it's in the last episode or the second last or something, he's like talking to someone, again, can't remember who it is, and he's like, they're holding their phone behind them, he's like, put it down. And it's like, wow. And even in that moment, I'm just like thinking about this scene again. In that moment, does so much character progression for both Starlight and Homelander, because you see everything on Anthony Starr's face. Again, amazing. As he processes everything that's happening in like 2 seconds. And then also for Starlight, she like gets in the elevator afterwards and then just like lets out a big sigh. And it's like that, I don't need to say anymore.
Something else, man. Also, I was just going to say, it's like the fun thing about the social media and stuff like that is Homeland is always on the very Fox News looking thing. And then everyone else is using, so it's like the good people are not paying attention to the news, basically. It's obviously playing pretty hard into that. Amazing show. Amazing show. Very and it's one of those things that doesn't deserve to be what it is, but I'm so glad it is. Like, the comics are a lot more crude, and I feel like probably when they came out, similar to a lot of comic series, were quite a contrast. But in retrospect, aren't as deep as this show is going, and so I'm very glad that it's grown beyond what the comics are. So, but people still complain. People still complain that it's not as, I will say it, rapey is apparently one of the big things of those comics, is that it's just... Because the other thing that I know a lot of people didn't like, those first few episodes, the plot wasn't moving much, and characters were just getting attacked. And apparently in the comics, it's a lot more that way, but there's even less plot, so it feels even more just like
things happening for the sake of it.
Yeah, just for putting characters under stress.
I think... I mean, just on this show and Invincible as well, I think it's really impressive what they're doing with both those shows. Very similar shows on the same streaming service, but totally different worlds. But it's really impressive what they're doing with both these shows that have that tendency, and their source material definitely has a tendency to have had stuff in it that hasn't dated as well, and they've come back to both these properties, often with the original creators, and being like, no, you know what, we need to like update this for the times and make it more relevant. And like you see both The Boys and Invincible, which again, can't wait till we get more of that next year. Both of these shows are like thriving by doing that, and it shows the value of like taking these properties from a while ago and actually spending the time not just to adapt them, but adapt them and retell their story with a modern outlook. Because I think that's sometimes what falls in the way of adaptations, definitely some Marvel adaptations and other stuff as well, is like not actually taking the time to think like, oh, okay, if we were telling this story now, what are we, what aspects of it can we actually tell versus what aspects of it just stuff we need to totally leave behind or rework or all that kind of things. And these two shows are doing it masterfully. Definitely hope some more people take a leaf out of that book and we forget remakes of anything. Harry Potter or whatever the hell. Like, if someone chooses to remake Harry Potter down the line, just like rewrite it all. Get rid of all the bullshit J.K. Rowling put in there and just make like a good story with these characters. That kind of thing.
Totally.
Like, I think these two shows, and again, The Boys has more to go off, so it's more prominent with The Boys. Just do a fantastic job of doing that. So
yeah, for sure.
Kudos to them. Big kudos.
Big kudos.
I
think that's it. We're all out of Boys. We're all out of Compound V. We've got to move on.
Yeah.
Very excited for season 4. I think trepidatious, but it was the same for this. So if we go in the same, we will hopefully have much fun.
Have they said when? Is it next year?
I think they're starting shooting in like January, so it may be another year and a bit break. But
yeah, because how long was it between this one and the last one?
2 years?
It's been a bit.
Okay.
It's been a fair bit, but
yeah, cool. All right. Well, hopefully,
we're not in a pandemic anymore, right, guys? We can make stuff.
Surely,
no,
right?
Not at all.
Good. No, excited. We'll be back for that, I'm sure. Oh, actually, I was supposed to read out the one because I messaged Finchy because we have a thing where if you can't make it to the podcast, just give us a line and we'll say it on the podcast. So I said, Josh, you got anything? He said, sorry, I'm at work and haven't written anything. He said, just say that I loved it. So
Josh loves it.
He loved it.
Did other Josh say he had a line about the one scene?
He didn't end up saying it, but I did show Josh the one scene Josh has seen of The Boys is Termite going in the peen.
Nice.
Good. He's seen the best of the show.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Again, it's crazy that I forgot that happened.
In the first episode, ridiculous.
Like the second scene as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Nothing's happened apart from that.
Yeah.
Wonderful show. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for listening along or watching along. If you listened along and you want to see our faces, you can go to youtube.com/each to their own. If you're on YouTube, you can listen to a lot of these podcasts basically anywhere. If you search ETTO, I'm sure there's very little things called ETTO on a podcasting streaming service. If you want to go the full mile, you can go ETTO's Catch Up. But just see what happens when you type ETTO in. Just want to know. If you want more of us as well, you can go to twitch.tv/ETTonline. We stream there. That's all the places we are. Sam, where do you live?
Not
your address.
Not my address. No. Whoa. No, you can sometimes find me on Instagram at Sam's Studio AU. I just post some like fun art that I make every now and then. So if you wanted to check that out, that's there.
There you go. Ben?
You can find me on twitch.tv/ArganTV for the occasional Twitch stream of the sort. And around the Edo places. All over the Edo places. Just
absolutely.
Smack me on all those screens.
Smack him. Until the next time, we're smacking. I've been Will.
Oh, it's me next. I've been Ben.
Yeah.
And I've been Sam.
We did it!